This is the TCAP dress rehearsal test for April 19th. Question 1. The map below shows the extent of a vast empire circa 117 AD. Which numeral marks the birthplace of the civilization that created this empire? A. 1, B. 2, C. 3, D. 4. Number 2. The map below shows ancient China and some of its rivers. Which description identifies the river marked with X's on the map? A. The birthplace of China's civilization. B. Formed part of the Northern Silk Road. C. The birthplace of the Buddhist region. D. Formed part of the Great Wall of China. Number 3. Which statement describes a difference between how Spartan and Athenian women were raised? A. Athenian girls were raised in military camps. B. Athenian girls were trained for leadership positions in the government. C. Girls were given a formal education in Sparta, including writing and athletics. D. Girls were treated as slaves in Sparta and expected to do manual labor for the community. Number 4. The map below shows 2 locations that played an important role in the development of Judaism. Which statement related to the places marked on the map is correct? A. Moses was the ruler of the area marked as location 1. B. Abraham was the ruler of the area marked as location 2. C. Moses moved the Israelite capital from location 1 to location 2. D. Abraham led an Israelite migration from location 2 to location 1. Number 5. The picture below shows an important site in human history. The map is titled A Geographic Feature in East Africa. The arrows are pointing to Kenya, Olduvai Gorge, and Tanzania. Which event happened at the place shown in the picture? A. Iron tools were invented by settlers. B. Farmers learned to control river floods. C. Scientists discovered early human remains. D. Civilizations were devastated by earthquakes. Number 6. The paragraph below discusses China's Zhou dynasty. The mandate of heaven was an idea created by the rulers of the Zhou dynasty to justify their taking over of the government from the Shang dynasty. It is said that heaven gave a family the right to govern as long as they did a good job and were fair to their subjects. If a ruling family failed to meet this expectation, the heavens would take away their right to rule and give it to another family. The mandate of heaven served to justify dynastic rule in China for hundreds of years. Based on the paragraph and your knowledge of Chinese history, which feature of Confucius's philosophy helped the Zhou dynasty keep the mandate of heaven for nearly 800 years? A. Requiring local landowners to treat their subjects fairly. B. Creating a fair system for advancement in the bureaucracy. C. Replacing rule by familial dynasties with authoritarian government. D. Spreading the idea that a weaker government would abuse its power less. Number 7. The maps below contain information about Greece in the 300s BC. The map on the left is titled Macedonian Territory, circa 336 BC. The map on the right is titled Hellenistic Empire, circa 323 BC. Based on the maps and your knowledge of Greek history, which impact resulted from the change shown by the maps? A. A major world religion was spread. B. A deadly plague was spread to the Persian Empire. C. Culturally and politically separate areas were unified. D. Caste systems from the Hindus were adopted by Greeks. Number 8. The map below shows ancient Egypt and its surrounding areas. The map is titled Ancient Egypt. At the top is the Mediterranean Sea. In the middle is labeled the Nile River. At the bottom is labeled Nubia. Which option identifies the location of Upper Egypt and the reason for the name? A. 1. Upper Egypt was a Saharan region with high temperatures. B. 2. Upper Egypt was a crowded area near the Nile River Delta. C. 3. Upper Egypt was a mountain area closer to the Nile River source. D. 4. Upper Egypt was a distant region with access to Red Sea trade routes. Number 9. What did Brahmanism and early Hinduism have in common? A. Both originated around the same time. B. Both promoted the belief in a caste system. C. Both promoted the worship of only one God. D. Both originated to help the powerless in society. Number 10. Why did taxation in the Roman Empire contribute to the social and economic stability of the Pax Romana? A. Because taxes were used to pay for missionaries that spread the official religion. B. Because taxes were used to pay for public projects such as the sanitation systems. C. Because taxes were used to pay tribute to rival empires, which reduced the need to maintain a large army. Or D. Because taxes were used to pay the costs of abolishing slavery, which increased the number of skilled workers. Number 11. Which country has roads that were built by the Romans as they expanded their empire? A. China. B. England. C. Mali. D. Norway. Number 12. The text below provides information about Mesopotamian culture. Although Mesopotamia was home to many cultures over the centuries, Sumerians, Assyrians, and Babylonians, the art these cultures created is similar enough that art historians term it Mesopotamian art. Because there was little stone in Mesopotamia, most building and artwork was done with clay or mud. For instance, ziggurats tended to be built out of bricks made of clay and mud. For this reason, types of arts have survived. The artwork that does survive show refined techniques and realistic figures. Based on the excerpt, for which cultural achievements is ancient Mesopotamia most famous? A. Printed pictures. B. Ceramic figures. C. Sculpture and architecture. D. Paintings and drawings. Number 13. The picture below shows an example of one of the oldest tools known to have been made by humans. Based on your knowledge of historical research, what can archaeologists determine when these types of tools are found at a historic site? A. They can determine the specific use of the tool. B. They can determine the earliest design of the tool. C. They can determine the gender of the person who made the tool. D. They can determine the level of advancement of the people who made the tool. Number 14. Why did the government of the Roman Republic develop the ideas of separation of governmental powers and of checks and balances? A. Because those ideas ensured that every citizen had equal rights. B. Because those ideas ensured that every citizen obeyed the laws. C. Because those ideas made it harder for the government to abuse its power. D. Because those ideas made it easier to check on what the government was doing. Number 15. Which statement explains the reason legalism emerged in ancient China? A. The existing Taoists realized that harmony with nature was impossible during warring periods. B. The ruling Qin dynasty decided to follow the teachings of the developing Shinto religion. C. The emerging empire needed a more effective way to keep order than Confucianism. D. The conquering Han dynasty demanded a change in the administration of justice. Number 16. The map below shows some of the important rivers in India. The map is titled Some Major Rivers in South Asia. One is labeled the Indus River. India is the country labeled in the middle. China is labeled at the top. What is the importance of the river marked with an X? A. It is sacred to Hindu believers. B. It is the only source of clean water in India. C. It is the site of one of the earliest Indian settlements. D. It is the only river that flows from the Himalayas. Number 17. The passage below describes an important ancient Egyptian invention. Early Egyptians invented papyrus, a material on which to write. Papyrus was made from a river plant of the same name. For 3,000 years, Egypt used this resilient and durable paper-like material. They also developed a refined system of writing. The original Egyptian writing system was hieroglyphics. The word hieroglyph is of Greek origin and roughly translates to sacred inscription. For nearly 4,000 years, the Egyptians used hieroglyphs to express themselves, tell stories, and to keep a tally of objects. They used hieroglyphics on papyrus, carved them in stone on tomb and temple walls, and used them to decorate numerous other objects. However, hieroglyphics were complicated to write, especially for short messages. To solve the problem, Egyptians invented hieratic, a writing form that combined words with the hieroglyphic symbols. They used hieratic alongside hieroglyphs for most of Egyptian history. A later form invented by the Egyptians during the 26th dynasty, 664 to 525 BC, used mostly words. This more cursive form of writing was called demotic. Based on the passage, which statement explains why Egyptians developed various forms of writing? A. To honor the many gods of writing. B. To express ideas that were difficult to write in symbols. C. To communicate with other people using other languages. D. To allow ideas to be written down on smaller pieces of papyrus. Number 18. The list below contains categories of athletic events. The list, bullet pointed, says running, wrestling, boxing, chariot races, pentathlon. Which title best describes this list? A. Sporting events in ancient Greek myths. Sports in Greek military training. C. Events of the ancient Olympic Games. D. Competitions among the ancient nations. Number 19. The excerpt below discusses an important feature of Roman civilization. The first excerpt is, good means of communication are indispensable. It was one of the first tasks of the Romans to establish such means. They were the great road builders of antiquity. They began before they had completed the conquest of Italy, and it was one of the devices which assured their supremacy throughout that peninsula. They followed it out in Gaul, Spain, Africa, Britain, and the East. James Bryce, The Ancient Roman Empire and the British Empire in India, 1914. The excerpt below describes an action taken by Augustus when he became emperor. Augustus repaired the great roads, which had been allowed to lapse into a bad condition. The public roads were among the most valuable, no less than the most durable monuments of the power and greatness of the Roman nation. Israel Smith Clare, Alexander's Empire and Roman Empire, 1897. Based on the excerpts and your knowledge of Roman history, which statement explains why Augustus took the action described in the second excerpt? A. To help him create a republic to protect the liberties and freedoms of citizens. B. To help him stop the collapse of the empire by defeating barbarians. C. To help him bring about peace and prosperity across the empire. D. To help him spread a new religion to unify the republic. Number 20. What was the result of the decision by King David to make Jerusalem his capital? A. The location of the city on trade routes helped to stimulate the economy. B. The location of the city on high ground made it difficult to defend from attacks. C. The location of the city in the middle of the territory allowed for a centralized government. D. The location of the city at the birthplace of the first prophet allowed for the preservation of cultural history? This is the last question.